So the objective of this webinar is to share the manifesto that was produced by our young committee in 2025. It was launched in COP30, and the idea of this webinar is to bring some perspectives of this manifesto brought during the whole year, last year, and its launch on COP30. The general vision is presentation of manifesto. I want to present also initiative led by young people, and at the end of our session, we'll have a debate with your questions. Next one. Well, bringing the contest on the SPA. SPA was established in September 2019 and launched officially in July 2020. They are convocated by the Sustainable Network. It was Ana Torres, our strategic coordinator, and today we have Carlos Nobre and Dr. Maria Lupinhas Claro as our co-presidents. The panel is really diverse. It has grown a lot through the years. So today they have more than 340 scientists. 72% of them are from Amazon country, and 52 are women. 42% are women, and 19 are engineers or local science. So the idea is to be diverse. And our mission is to synthesize and communicate scientific knowledge about the Amazon, integrating with indigenous and local knowledge to accelerate solutions for sustainable and equitable development. Next one, please. Well, our young committee that was idealized by the panel, it was launched in September 2024. So we're almost getting our second year, a third year maybe, of our young people committee. And the idea of this committee was just bring this perspective from the youth to the scientific production in the panel as well. So this is the main objectives of this youth group. Next one. And now I'm gonna introduce our three members of the committee that will be part here. We'll present some production about the production of the manifesto, its results. So we have Pedro. He's economist, master in development and planning by MPA and OI. And today he's in this doctorship in social environmental development. Works with climate change in the face of global science and public planning. He works at the Secretariat of the Environment at the state of Pará in Brazil. He joins the executive committee of the
Que se
Brazilian
ha unido a
Association
la
of
Asociación Brasilera de
Economists for
Economistas de la
Democracy for the
Amazonía de la
Commission of
Comisión
the
de
Organic
América de
Production of
Pará
the Stara and
y
the
parte de la juventud,
Youth
Voces de la
Council
Juventud de
of
Pará.
Pará. We
Tenemos
have
también a
also
Gustavo.
Gustavo. Gustavo, he's
Es
a student of
estudiante
anthropology with commitment with justice, uh, environmental justice. He has been working with a group of kids. He's member of the consultative committee of the youth of Pluma, defending the youth leadership on the global politics of environment. And also we have our member Nohora. Hora is indigenous youth from Colombia, graduated in biology. He's really experienced in biodiversity. Nowadays, he supports several projects with women, and it is an international ambassador of the Gender Equity and member of the Terreno Pensamiento, an organization that defends the women rights in the field of the climate justice. Now I'll give the floor to Pedro that he will be presenting his slides, and from that we can have a debate on the manifesto. Pedro, good morning. Can you hear me? Great. So it's a joy and responsibility to open this space Thank you, Gabriel. We're not only doing another webinar, but we're opening a debate space for a process that itself it's consolidated already and deeply territorial. The manifesto of the youth of the scientific panel is not an isolated document. We're talking on the collective effort of building it. And more than that, the recognition of voices that were here before the institution. That's why, because the Amazon Youth doesn't start in here, obviously. It is organized, it resists and produces knowledge. And what we think with this process was to create conditions so these voices could be recognized and could articulate in a regional scale and global scale. And in this context, there appears the committee. Gabriel has made this introduction. We're launched in September 24. We are in 13 youth from the 7 different Amazon countries. With the objective is to integrate the youth with the work, scientific and political work of the panel. But this objective is not abstract. I don't know if you can see the slides. Do you want the slides or the video? The slides first, please. And then we present the video. Here we are. Okay, that's it.
Okay, here we are.
So our work plan, we're organizing these 3 fronts. Knowledge sharing, scientific communication, and networking and representation. And that's on the 3rd front that we need not only to talk, but to build collectively. Then the process that brings us here was born. And the proposal to elaborate workshops with the youth Amazon youth. There was we wanted to hear, we want to understand the diversity of the territories, and we want to recognize that this process, there are this Amazon territory and diversity, but yet it should be done with responsibility and cover. The manifesto that we will present today is an outcome of this journey. We don't want to end the debate, but it was done with the object to affirm that there was launched in COP that we have a generation in the Amazon producing from inside, from their conflicts and experience and their possibilities. And with this spirit, that I would like to invite you to watch the presentation video of the manifesto that synthesizes not only the content, but overall the living process. So now, Gabi, if you can play the video.
In September 2024, the Science Panel for the Amazon launched its Youth Advisory Committee. 13 young people from 7 Amazonian countries who accepted the commitment to bring the voices of youth into SPA's mission. One of their first initiatives was to create a document that would reflect the visions and needs of young Amazonians. Between May and October 2025, more than 200 youth from across all Amazonian countries came together in 5 workshops, sharing stories, knowledge, and solutions. From these encounters, a collective voice emerged: the Amazonian Youth Manifesto. This document explores the importance of the Amazon and its connectivity, the ecological, cultural, social, and economic dimensions that sustain life. It confronts the challenges threatening Amazonian connectivity, deforestation, extractive pressures, inequality, and the loss of indigenous and local knowledge. And it brings forward recommendations to maintain this connectivity directed to key stakeholders, political leaders, indigenous peoples and local communities, private sector, academia, and civil society. Through this manifesto, our purpose is clear: to safeguard connectivity and build a just, sustainable future, honoring the legacy of our ancestors and protecting the rights of generations yet to come. We call on leaders and partners to establish accessible financing for youth, strengthen cross-border collaboration, and prioritize initiatives that safeguard the Amazon's ecological and sociocultural integrity. The fate of the Amazon is a shared responsibility. The time to act is now.
El momento de actuar es ahora.
Le moment d'agir, c'est maintenant.
O momento de agir é agora.
El momento de actuar es ahora.
El momento de actuar es ahora.
O tempo de agir é agora.
Thank you, Gabby. So, can we get back to the slides? I'd like to talk a little bit on the methodology of the elaboration of the document, some consideration. This method is not only an outcome, but I'd like to talk to you about the process of this manifesto. It's a collective experience in regional scale. We involved more than 200 youth people from all the Amazon countries, workshops and spaces of structured listening with defined methodology. But what is in the game? Not only the geography and the diversity of the space, but it's the way as this diversity is organized.
Is important. It's not just institutional, but it has a historical character and a shared knowledge from the youth and through diverse territories and disconnections, ecological disconnection, social, cultural, and economic. And at the same time, they sustain connectivity issues that resist to such cultures. The organization of the structure with previous data and process. Interpreter note that audio is really poor. The forms and contacts through the same panel and new spaces of connectivity workshops that gave origin. We came from a constellation of experiences, organizational experiences that operated in the territories. And I feel like what this process does is something that connects. Our objective was to get these experiences and produce articulations from the Amazon. And this is something that's got more methodology, not to include youth, but to recognize organized initiatives that mediation between organizational processes, different processes. So the document, it resulted in 5 different workshops separated by regions, guaranteeing territorial diversity and cultural. It's important to qualify what we call these moments is collections of opinions, recognizing different forms of understanding the Amazon, different methodologies and processes, and to connect demands, but different focuses in scientific, policy-wise, and to dialogue conditions. So this changes the consultative participation. It's not consultative, it's constitutive. What does that mean regarding the youth and the building of the document? and there has been a methodology that needs to be presented, and the reality it strengthens the document. It's like a participative process regarding the totality of the Amazon, the youths that were not able to be present because of access or connectivity or communications. Is to recognize these this process, on the contrary, becomes a process that regarding the connectivity. So maybe this is another more important point that was made here. Essentially, it's an exercise of translation, the contributions from the workshops, which are diverse and situated and sometimes contradictory. They had to be organized in a manner that is regarding the work that has been done in the past few years, or systemization directly of the document, and everything that the methodology, political methodology for scientific work, first to recognize that every process of systemization involves hierarchy, synthesis, regarding to seek that these things are oriented by collective criteria, and regarding the final document represented by some of talks, they articulate the common, and regarding this manifesto, if the concept of connectivity, ecological, social, cultural, economic. And then we utilize the same work groups and the workshops of these three, the methodology, this document does not describe reality in a way to work from the concept of a connectivity. The release of the manifesto during COP30, it was a visibility strategy and a gesture of a politics subject, a subject of proposition. Taking this document to COP, the Amazon is not able to see constructed these populations. But also produce knowledge. And then to conclude the talk, I'd like to say there's a point that understands this question. It's the science and context of conflict, territorial conflict, and diversity, radical diversity. And something that's not technical but political in science. And not only these conditions, but from these, is to recognize that the Amazon knowledge is not only here, but it's elaborative or scientific, but it's also regarding the territories that are connected and different in the social manner, and the experience is something that the Amazon connectivity, it's an analytical concept and metric of producing knowledge and to dispute and to discuss the Amazon reality. Thank you. I'd like to, can you show me the slide, please? I'd like to now pass the word to Gustavo to work regarding the messages for the chat from the manifesto. Thank you. Hello, hello. Can y'all hear me? Yes, great. Thank you, everyone. Vou falar, I'm gonna speak Portuguese, and I'm gonna start with present the Amazon as a web of rivers, peoples. The connectivity is what sustains the system. that controls the climate in a regional and global scale. In a local and global scale simultaneously, the Amazon is fundamentally the intention of biodiversity, of rains in all of Brazil and the region, as the Amazon as a whole. And as our manifesto regarding biodiversity, we had three specific dimensions that we called connectivity. The first one was ecological, where focus is regarding species, energy, water, climate. That would be the focus of this connectivity. So in reality, how living beings in general and the systems that maintain these live beings work and how they connect among themselves. It's something that constantly shows up in our workshops, the regarding of the flying rivers and how the Amazon is fundamentally the control of the rains and consequently the agricultural production in the whole region and through these flying rivers. And the second dimension was social cultural. So the relationship between peoples, cultures, and knowledge that were very present and they are very present. They're fundamental in the Amazon, and more than simply the presence of a culture of a people within the Amazon, we were trying to find out and we're focusing on the relationship between them and how different communities have relationships between themselves. How do they relate in a global spectrum from an Amazon perspective? The third connectivity was economic. It's the circulation of products, knowledges, and this one was open the doors so that we can speak regarding the political connectivity that eventually goes through all the other three, and how all these three are fundamental for us to be able to understand how the Amazon works and what is the importance of the Amazon for the whole world, but especially for the communities who live in the Amazon physically. And these dimensions, as I mentioned earlier, are presented as interconnected dimensions. They're fundamental to understand how the region works. And we were focused on them so because they're the most relevant ones for our work, but obviously we're not excluding others. We could also include the agricultural connectivity, which is another knowledge, another area of knowledge, but we focus on these three. Some of the threats to the ecological integrity, which are very occurrent in all the other workshops, we spoke with different people from different countries, from all the 9 Amazon countries. Today, the Amazon is being fragmented by deforestation, by the changes in land usage and the advancement of mining and of the agricultural borders. So the illegal exploitation and mining, they're very strong, contribute to the deforestation of the Amazon. They break the ecosystem. The infrastructure is not sustainable, such as dams and roads that create not only ecological divisions, but also they end up creating an opportunity. Can think of it opportunity, very big opportunity for floods in a large scale burns, something that we see every year reoccurring. The agriculture and livestock maintaining, they're familiar. They have very little impact in the Amazon, but the industrial agriculture is it creates a lot of damage to the whole ecosystem and to our health. And these processes interrupt ecological. They reduce flying rivers. They have a chain reaction, chain effect in everything that we regard in our lives, even if we don't notice it. The threats to the social cultural connectivity are very interconnected with the ecological threats, and the ecological connectivity, they are sometimes they come from the same source. In many times they happen simultaneously. So some of the threats to the social cultural threats are the displacement, the loss of knowledge, loss of language from the Quilombola people, exclusion of youth and women from decision making, local decision making, and external pressures that affect the local economy. There are several indigenous communities throughout the Amazon. The arrival of illegal mining, illegal immigration, and the indigenous territories that creates lots of murders, river pollution that eventually take to murders. All these dynamics really fragment the communities and weaken their cultural identities, and consequently, they weaken the cultural identity of the region. And threats to economic connectivity also basically have different words for speaking of the same problem: expansion of monoculture and intensive. One of the maybe the largest threat to the region is the illegal mining, environmental degradation, and the unequal value chains of what's produced in the Amazon. Profit that's made in the Amazon does not stay in the Amazon, either leaves the country or goes to financial centers in the country, such as Sao Paulo and Rio. Policies that support local economies, that's very strong. We've found this in diverse cases. The lack of backing, political backing from local governments and national governments for many of the communities in the region. I believe this was a common comment that for many countries, so this is something that's very present in the region, and this compromises the sustainability, the resiliency of the territories, and compromises also the development of the territory as a whole, because you're unable to develop if you're always reacting to these losses. Now we are entering the segment of the recommendations of the manifesto. I'm going to move it on to Nahora so that she can give us the recommendations. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all at the Q&A session.
Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gustavo and Pedro, for sharing our path in this process of the co-creation of a manifest. I would like to mention some of the recommendations, mainly towards decision makers. And I believe we point out that they have the responsibility of guaranteeing territorial rights and integrating indigenous and local knowledge, integrating their knowledge systems in decision making, and we need to strengthen our transparency, evaluation, and monitoring, ensuring access to information and evaluation of impacts. Is also key to do this through data publication and impact assessments. We need to promote sustainable policies co-designed and accompanied by the community and the academy. Also, reduce extractivist actions and promote economy through tourism, for example. That is important to invest in intercultural education, implement actions in face of climate change, and secure, fair, transparent, and with international responsibility in the education. Next slide, please. Recommendations for indigenous peoples and local communities. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So here we have that indigenous peoples are the main stakeholders in the protection of the Amazon. It is fundamental to guarantee and recognize their autonomy and collective rights. We need to ensure the free prior consultation in any projects affecting their lands, and this is fundamental. It is also important to strengthen governance systems to protect the leaders and defenders of human rights in environmental topics. Also, fight illegal activities such as mining or timbering. We also need to forsake and safeguard the identity, language, and knowledge systems, promoting intercultural education and women's and youth leadership. Finally, it is key to ensure direct access to funding and strengthening autonomy, supporting their own economies. Next slide, please. So here, the role that the private sector is key, as they need to undertake a mandatory environmental responsibility. All investments need to go through environmental impact assessments, bearing into account social and cultural impacts, mainly by working with indigenous peoples and local communities. Companies need to commit to conservation, investing in restoration, bioeconomy, and projects led by communities, plus transparent, traceable, fair supply chains need to be ensured, as this ensures traceability to prevent deforestation and guarantee fair prices. It is also important to prevent greenwashing and secure fair compensations. Finally, there is a need for investment in connectivity and livelihoods, reinvesting in community-based and sustainable projects. Now, for the case of the academia, in this case, we talk about amplifying access to education thought for the territories, promoting intercultural
Promovendo o
programs,
conhecimento e a
promoting the
ciência dos povos
knowledge and
indígenas.
wisdom of
E a
indigenous
pesquisa
people.
deve ser
Research has
feita
to
com
be
colaboração
carried out in
direta com as
the direct
comunidades.
collaboration of the communities based they're respecting the knowledge, guaranteeing their co-authorship, and applying ethical principles, as this is fundamental, such as prior consultation. Universities need to become learning points, integrating indigenous and local knowledge into science. And the academia needs to guarantee useful evidence for decision-making and action at a political level, and they need to work with the CSO and private sector to reach the territory and secure it is all done fairly and transparently. At the civil society level, the civil society has a fundamental role as a bridge in between the local communities, governments, and organizations. There needs the strengthening of human rights is fundamental, and promoting intergenerational leadership in getting women, youths, and communities involved in decision-making. SEO needs to focus at the community level to prevent deforestation and illegal economic impacts. Plus, it is important to get direct funding and institutional recognition, ensuring direct resources and recognition as key actors in the governance and management of the economy. Just to close, today we're not only talking about one territory, but we're talking about life in itself. The Amazon breathes through each of us, and each river getting polluted gets us closer to a bad point, an emergency point. We are taking care of the Amazon. We defend it. We've been there defending it for many generations. We need to listen to it as an obligation. This is shared responsibility. And this is the moment for acting today, because if the Amazon falls, there will be no speech to get it back. But if we protect it, we will be defending the life of all of the people. And now I would like to move into sharing the QR code where you can find the manifest that we have put together with other youths in this month. And I give the floor back to Gabriel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nohora, Pedro, Gustavo. Great presentation. I think we can understand how transversal this work was done. It was plural. So I'm really happy and I thank you for the presentation. Gabby, next slide, please. Well, now I'd like to present you our partners that will be here in our meeting. So first, I'd like to present Tosana. Tosana Maria Tobin is part of the youth of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, GARN. Tosana is a researcher, an ecologist, feminist, and defends the nature rights. He's graduated in forest science with masters on the reproduction of florestal fires and rights of lands in Amazon, Bolivia. Specialized in governance since 2023, is a leader of the youth group for the rights of nature and is member of the executive committee. So, Susana, first of all, thank you for being here at our webinar. So I would like to give you the floor, okay? Thank you very much. My Portuguese is not that good.
Thank you for this space. I've read the manifesto and I think it is really well articulated. So let's talk about Amazon connectivity through the lens of rights of nature and youth. So you might wonder, why am I the only person not from an Amazonian country speaking here? Great question. Well, through my research and advocacy for the rights of nature, I've learned a lot about the Amazon. It started when I was 8 years old. I was presenting in front of class about how the meat industry is causing deforestation in the Amazon. And from then on, I've always cared about its future. My focus today is on sharing perspectives on how youth engagement and the rights of nature relate to the issues in the Amazon and the Amazon Youth Manifest. Next slide, please. I would like to start off with sharing the research finding of my master's research project about the politics and management of deforestation by fire in the Chiquitania, Bolivia. So I've spent 8 months in direct alliance with the community in the eastern lowlands of Bolivia, in a territory called Monteverde, together with a local organization called APCO. And I've learned that the community members face different challenges, and one of them being youth migrating out of the territories to urban areas, which is largely driven by environmental changes such as devastating megafires we've witnessed and the economic pressures plaguing the country. Another significant factor at play is the state's promotion of agricultural frontier expansion, which prioritizes economic growth over the conservation of forest ecosystems, biodiversity, and the protection of indigenous territorial land rights. This expansion raises critical questions about the balance between conservation and so-called development, and highlights the urgent need for policies that respect and preserve the natural and cultural heritage of these regions. These findings set the stage for next discussion on the Amazon Rights Declaration, which aims to address these pressing issues. Next slide, please. Following the 2018 ruling of...
Sorry, Tosana, I'm gonna start over sharing with the slides that they were showing wrong. Give me one second.
Yeah, no worries.
Do they look good now?
Yes, so we can move on to the next one.
The next one. Okay,
Perfect.
I'll leave it like that.
So in 2018, the Colombian Supreme Court of Justice recognized the Amazon as a subject of rights. And following this, a declaration of the rights of the Amazon was developed during the 6th Pan-Amazonian Social Forum, also known as FOSPA, in 2024. With experts reporting the Amazon is in its worst state on the last 50 years due to deforestation and pollution, it is essential now, more than ever, to recognize the Amazon as a subject of rights. This would safeguard its ecological integrity and uphold the rights of indigenous peoples and local communities that depend on it. Next slide, please. I would like to showcase several notable examples of rights of nature achievements and challenges at the national level within the Amazon region. First off, in 2008, Ecuador's constitution was the first to include the rights of nature, recognizing ecosystems as living entities with legal rights. Fast forward to 2016, when in Colombia, the Constitutional Court's ruling recognized the Atrato River as a legal entity with the right to protection, conservation, and restoration. Last year, Brazil introduced a constitutional amendment to recognize nature as a subject of fundamental rights. At the same time, though, communities have to defend their territories and forests from the Carajas mining complex, a region marked by deforestation, land grabbing, rural massacres, slave labor, and systematic violations of the rights of nature and forest peoples. So one part of the Global Alliance of the Rights of Nature that I'm a part of is the International Rights of Nature Tribunal. This tribunal visited the Carajas corridor in Pará, Brazil. And during that visit, a documentary was filmed called A World Devouring Machine by Celina Giorgio, which documents the social environmental realities for any of you who want to know more about the work being done in Brazil on rights of nature. So how does these insights connect to the manifesto? What I noticed while reading the manifesto is how it highlights the lack of recognition and enforcement of collective territorial rights of indigenous peoples and local communities, and how that fosters land grabbing and unsustainable practices. So I would add that at the root of these movements, is the recognition of ourselves as part of nature and the love we have for our planet and all its living relatives. Indigenous peoples or human rights and the rights of nature must therefore be at the center of all climate justice proposals. So the only thing I would add is to reaffirm that the rights of indigenous peoples and future generations are inseparable from the rights of nature. Now, one of the projects that I've been working on in the Youth Hub of the Global Alliance of the Rights of Nature, together with members from Brazil, is the idea of a biocultural regeneration school, which I think also links back to the recommendations that were just presented about biocultural education. So we came up with the Floresta Escola project, envisioning spaces where nature, culture, and education harmoniously intertwine. So we want to affirm the importance of adopting teaching methods that actively combat racism and celebrate socio-cultural diversity. By incorporating indigenous sciences and histories into our education, we embark on a mission to reforest minds. I deeply believe that we have so much to learn from traditional ecological knowledge and indigenous worldviews, and that this knowledge is more valuable than any Western science in entailing the shift of consciousness we need right now to really address the roots of the climate crisis, which is the idea that we are separate from nature. On one hand, this project focuses on educational and ecological reforestation through intergenerational knowledge exchange. So in this part, we would want to invite elders to share their insight with youth in urban centers, creating earth-based connection between the past and the future. And on the other hand, we want to implement the restorative aspects of the Amazon Rights Declaration. I will send a link later of the declaration, but one of the things it includes is that the Amazon also has the right to restoration. So how do we implement this? And connected to this project, we are envisioning the restoration of native forest and successional agroforestry in green spaces near the schools. Because this is also one of the things I found during my research, is that youth leave the rural areas because there seems to be less economic opportunities. While I think Carlos Nobre also promotes this idea of the Amazon bioeconomy. So this idea of having sustainable and responsible bioproduction of non-timber forest products, for example. So we would like also to integrate this aspect into the project. We just applied for funding and we are now exploring collaboration with local communities. So if you want to connect, please reach out to the phone number that is written on the slide below of my colleague, João Felipe. And we would love to hear your thoughts or ideas or any tips you might have. So by scanning the QR code, you can access the form to join the Rights of Nature movement, the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature specifically. It's an invitation to become a member and collaborate across various regions and interests. Maybe the project I just presented is not relevant for you, but we are present in every continent. And we have also different focus, such as youth, which I'm part of, academic, legal, and we also have an Indigenous Council. So if you want to know more about our work, please reach out, follow us on Instagram, or you can email us. I want to end saying that I think the Amazon Manifesto is a really valuable piece, and it really intertwines with also the rights of nature. And I'm really excited to see the further steps on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susana. Your Portuguese are really good, to be honest. So don't feel shy to share your Portuguese.
Thank you for presentation. So we can get back to our slides, Gabby. So we can keep going for partners that accepted to be here with us. So now I would like to present Annalise Tavares. She is part of the International Forest Students Association. Annalise is in doctorship in environment in Brazil, master's in tropical forest engineering. She has researched on cooperation projects with development of traditional communities in the Amazon. She's a member of the International Association of Forestry Students. So, Annalise, please, the floor is yours. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here speaking. I share my slides, or do you? As you wish. So I'll share them. Can you see my screen? Is it working? Yes. So again, from the start, thank you for the opportunity. And I'll start speaking on what is IFSA. It's not known in Brazil mainly. So IFSA was founded in 1990 and is the biggest international association for the forestry students, and related areas are biology and sometimes agriculture and things like that. It is global, but it was founded in Germany. So since the beginning, it has a focus a little bit Eurocentric, with lots of present people in Europe. And now the focus is changing to Asia. So now our president is from Indonesia, and our vice president is from Nigeria. Main objective of the organization is to connect these students worldwide and train them in areas that are not provided by academy traditionally. And here's a picture of one of the symposiums that we took part. So the vision is the world that likes forests, and we try to get it through the enrichment of the education of our members with international events and cultural inter-programs. I'll be talking with more details on the events later, but basically, we are a hub for the educational development. Sorry to interrupt you. Is that the presentation is another mode, so we can see the slide are really small. Thank you for the warning. Sorry. No, no problem. What about now? Is it okay? That's perfect now. Thank you. So I forget what I was saying, but uh, so as I said, we are present in 7 regions in North America, South America, Latin America, but you can see that Brazil is not in the map because our committees were founded recently. So most of the action is in Europe, Asia, and part of Africa. And IFTA works in a way that we have local committees that communicate between them. So you can see that most of them is in Europe and some in Latin America. More than 64 countries and more than 141 local committees. In Amazon countries, we're in Colombia, Campus Medellin, in the university, in La Molina University in Peru, in Puerto Maldonado in Peru. Recently, there was founded one in Brazil, in Exalc, in São Paulo. And with the COP30, we started a process of founding other 2 local committees in Pará State. And here we have a picture with the of an event that we organized with the students of the Pará University that was organized by them and along with IFSA. So IFSA works in a way that you have projects by local communities, and each of them they have different scopes. So can be field visit between communities from different countries, reinforcing the relation between countries and world regions, but also webinars and competition, publication in Brazil specifically. The activities involved, they have to build the sensibilization with local people for the benefits of the forest engineering and the academic study, yeah, for a conversation between the technical and popular language.
More examples of how we help our members. Some of it is you participate in international, so INFF, you give your opinion, and the Forest Fund, how the youth sees the handling of the sustainable forest. And this is done in a way that people have financing to be able to get there. So this is done through the development fund, which receives funds from our partners. But we also offer a platform of learning platform where you can also learn regarding topics that are less commonly approached regarding to academic connection. For example, carbon credits, which is an area that is not all that explored. The 5 years they're also offered in our platform, in our virtual platform, and also job fairs where we are able to see more opportunities postgraduate. And now the important part. Sorry about the long introduction. And but so this is we also saw the manifesto. We participated in the event, which was organized on the 15th of November. And in a quick way, the points that we believe have more convergence regarding the mission and everything that we do and that you do. We can see the youth not as symbolic authors that will be approached as a number, but the target group. We see that this youth has to be given the capability to be a part of this change and to give your opinion and to be heard as well. And this happens through the capacitation, the enabling that we do in these spaces. For example, every year we see a delegation for the diverse events in ways that are more general, not necessarily directly the forest, but This is a summary in case you want to see it later. But he also meant regarding the plurality of knowledge when we are presenting more than 1,000 students regarding the forest. We try to seek this dialogue in different forms. This is done through our event where more than 1,000 people get together to discuss and see how the forest engineering is done in different countries. Unfortunately, we have not been in South America. We have not been in the Amazon, but also the fact that I spoke, the general organization has been more focused in northern countries, and now we're focusing more in southern countries. It's been also an effort, a deliberate effort, to try to move on from this organization that we have to South America because it's not so well structured in South America. So our efforts are more in strengthening local territories and create more so that we can expand these knowledges and this talk. And we believe that, as the manifesto says, the production of sustainable economies is the only way to maintain the forest, because if you maintain a forest that's not seen as a benefit for the population that is there, it's very improbable that this forest will be sustainable. So this exploitation cannot be done in every manner, as you said in the manifesto. This way, this plurality of the Amazon is sustainable. What's sustainable is defined by the populations that are in there. So we are in 100% agreement with you in this regarding this topic. And with this, I go back to the local economies. We know it's a problem. A big part of the resources that are allocated are uh, given to more strong economic centers, and they don't remain in the region who produce the value. And for this reason, our efforts to expand to the Amazon to not just stay in São Paulo, which is the richest part of Brazil, but also to hear what was done and what can be done differently regarding forest engineering. The people that live in a relationship with the forest, in a completely different relationship with the forest, is very different to speak of eucalyptus or of a forest. It's a lot more complex, and this can only be done when you have a dialogue, when you're open to hear the opinion of other people. One more time, the cooperation, international cooperation in global networks. We always seek to have this talk among different countries. And the climatic actions as a global responsibility, that we believe that the forests are integral parts of any action that has to be taken regarding mitigation, but also prevention of effects of the climatic changes in a way that is more extreme. And for this reason, we are here speaking with you all, and thank you for the opportunity. In case you have any questions, not only about IFSA, but also any other topic, I would like to be able to answer in the Q&A. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for your presentation. And to bring this context regarding IFSA, I had some doubt regarding how to pronounce IFSA, but now I know it's IFSA. Yes, that's cool. Great. Okay, then we have one more partner that's going to participate here with us. I'm going to introduce you. We have Ingrid Silva from Instituto Co Jovem. Ingrid is from Pará, engineer at Almo, from the Federal University, Rural University of Amazon, and she is a coordinator where she leads initiatives established for the strengthening of the leadership of youth in the Amazon. She's also part of the Human Network, a project done by the Mundi organization. Mundi, so I'll let you take it from here. Good morning, everyone. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Yes, we can hear you well and see you as well. Great. Let me share my screen here. All right. Can y'all see? Yes, perfectly, Ingrid. All right. So, well, everyone, as Gabriel was introducing me, my name is Ingrid. I am an engineer, Kuruma engineer, but today I am acting as a community coordinator and engagement in the CoJovem Institute. Let me see here. Now, here we go. So CoJovem, the cooperative, the Amazon Youth for the Sustainable Development is an institute that acts here in Belém since 2021, but it has been expanding its scope to the level of legalities in the Amazon. The CoJovem Institute has its main mission is to act regarding the rights of the Amazon youth, and we have three main pillars: advocacy, research, and basis formation to strengthen the territories, sustainable territories in the Amazon. And we are with 5 years of acting, learning, and seeking to understand that conservation is of the future has to do with the investment in the youth of the present. And that is something that Anna brought. We spoke in the previous screen that the youth is the main player in CoJovem. It acts at a level, international level. Here are some of the countries that we have been present, either to participate in a COP or to participate in different official UN events. Here's some examples, such as Bolivia, Chile, Germany, among other countries. Sorry, my connection is a little slow, but we're gonna get it. You're still in the world map slide, by the way. You want us to take care of the slides for you, Ingrid? Let me see. Yeah. If you could handle the slides, please. I'll continue from here. Now I need for Ingrid to stop presenting, to stop sharing the screen. There you go. And here are some pictures from where we had been present, events and things like that, where the CoJovem members participated. And then here last year, the Amazon received COP Belém, and then we became a global center for the world. The eyes were turned upon the Amazon even more, first to discuss all the climatic issues. And I'll do a brief presentation of the projects that we have worked on last year. I'm going to start a voluntary program with CoJovem. It was one of the main programs where we worked with several youth. The volunteer program was focused on acting as a dissemination center regarding climatic changes, issues of fairness, and the youth were integrated in the institutional activities of CoJovem. In total, we selected 39 youth, but 6 that were at the end, there were 30 youth. It was a small drop. The engagement of the youth continued very high for the whole period of formation. It was 9 months. And another very cool part of the volunteer program was that 40% of the youth worked last year in one way or another in a way that they got paid by CoJovem. So beyond giving information, we are able to give them the opportunity to earn some money. And nowadays, two of these youth work with us in effective paid way. We had a thesis regarding our research directory. We only had one researcher, and last year we were able to create a center of research where we had 9 researchers, and all of them received scholarships, grants to continue doing their research so that we can have a minimum of quality of life for this group that is working, getting their postgraduate studies, so that they need to have their rights ensured, that they have to earn some money to continue doing their activities, performing their activities. And then we worked in a way with the volunteers. It was a success story, and we are able to build capacities in much youth. Can you go to the next one, please? And then also 2025, we did a research regarding youth of the Amazon. This research was within the scope of Legal Amazon, where we heard the youth regarding what they think regarding climate change, because there are people who are feeling it, but some other people don't even are not aware of what's happening. So we sought to hear all different areas, the expectations of this youth, and also trying to understand what do they expect for the upcoming elections, what's in their hearts. Some of the words that we heard the most were the feeling of hope. So this feeling is strong, that they have hope that things will change, that all people will be more conscientious of attitudes, that we are able to change this reality that is now being imposed upon us. And then from this research, we launched in the COP, which was Amazon Youth and Young Amazon, regarding fair transition and climatic modification. Something that we can share later. I can share this material with you that has to do with the manifesto that we're building. Can you go to the next one? So CoJovem works with this issue of formation, with the issue of advocacy, doing establishing partnerships, but we also have this side regarding discussing climatic changes in a more laid back way. And so we created this festival called Muita Onda, lots of waves. And last year it had its first event. It's discussing climatic change in the ways that you can see via different media ways, dancing, music, other cultural ways. And I believe that we connected very well through this. The words that we bring relating culture and cultural identity, things that we cannot lose, because this brings us pride, and it brings us it's a question of valuing our ancestry that the original peoples have made through the technologies that traditional communities have done through the Amazon. So this issue of culture is very important. I was born in 2001, so I lived a little bit about the internet in this generation that was already born within the internet. We have to work more and more with them, this issue of cultural identity. The valuing of these that came before us is very important, so that we can continue building an Amazon that is truly alive and that makes sense for all of us. Another part of the manifesto that I wanted to mention is something that we touch. It's been a long time. Is to speak of the Amazon It's not only a resource, a group of resources that the Amazon, most of the world thinks the Amazon is just a bunch of resources to be exploited. And we have to change this in a way that you bring very poetically in the manifesto that it was a constellation of intelligences that, due to the interconnection, they sustain a climate, culture, and the hope for the planet. And I believe that that very much that the Amazon has very rich people that can bring solutions for the changes that we need, that we are hoping for. But for this, we have to value not only value with words, but also important places, but also to give a quality of life, a good quality of life from paying these people well in a way that these people that have been sustaining the forest. So I'd like to congratulate you for the bid on this manifesto. Some solutions for these things they're bringing. It's a very big happiness to read this manifesto and to know that how the youth is seeking these changes. Not necessarily we wanted to be living this, we wanted to be enjoying our youth, but how cool that we are here meeting, speaking regarding our Amazon and conservation of the forest, valuing our people. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So all of us who are here, we'd like to be there.
So, first of all, thank you for being here. Great presentations. And I guess lots of controversial issues that all from all the content that you've shown. That's really interesting that in a way the topics are related in a way, right? Well, so the presentations are ended. We're getting to the end of the webinar. As we're a little bit late, I suggest that we can have 20 minutes for a discussion on what we've brought. And good, I have some questions, but before I ask them, I'd like to give you the floor to anyone who wants to speak, any members of the committee, if they want to ask something for our partners, or the other way around, if the partners want to ask something to our committee. No? Okay. So actually we have a question here. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Tanya Kirola brought a question here in the chat, and she's asking, based on the SPA report, it's fundamental to work in the socio-economy. And then she says, how do you plan to influence the private sector in the direction to this new model? And we can consider the percentage of the money or monoculture and the agriculture. So she's bringing the idea of the bioeconomy. And why do I bring you this provocation? On how youth face this socio-bioeconomy of standing woods. Feel free to answer. Anyone? Okay, I think I understood the question. Mainly the part of, can you maybe repeat the final part? She says, how do you plan to influence this private sector in direction to the new model? It will have to be compliant and percentage of the money that we get in with the compensation by the extractivist industry as monoculture and agriculture. She's asking how this is going to be implemented. Of course, we don't need to give a concrete answer here, but I would like to hear you regarding this new model of socio-bioeconomy. That is something that is being discussed and implemented. Well, I guess, in my opinion, maybe it doesn't represent my institution opinion, but socio-bioeconomy will have a risk to get back what went wrong. So that's why you have to be aware on how it is conducted. So maybe you have to question this speech that everything that is done in this way and it's green and it's good to in my personal experience. Actually, we need to pay attention on what we are buying, for example, not only as a student but as consumers to understand if the speech is aligned with the actions. So we have to position ourselves to educate ourselves and make pressure and occupy these spaces. And this is not enough the way it's being done. And I guess Pedro has any comment. So first point is that socio-bioeconomy. It's really different concept. There's a lot of ways of association to can be connected to people, economic groups that are present in the Amazon territory, and even they fight for the territory. And when they do it, it's they have different ways of economy that are established. But yeah, the bioeconomy by itself is not new, not a new model. It's something that has always existed in the Amazon. And what happened? It's a break that's going on that make Amazon people away from its forest. It's an economic break. Sorry, it's a reality that economically is translated in those to the socio-bioeconomy. In terms of youth, this means the loss of references and opportunities. It means the need for migration from the field to the city and violence on the field. So I guess that from this perspective of the bioeconomy, nowadays we have to have public policies for schools, for agriculture, financing. There are lots of policies that could strengthen this economy, which already exists and that has been always really strong in the Amazon, even when the state privileged other economic journeys, the agribusiness, the great farms, soy. But anyway, the population is there, they exist and they resist. And to say that bioeconomy is something new, it's just make everything simpler than it is. Of course, that agrobusiness needs to create its own sustainability mechanisms, but on the conservation policy is not going that way. Who takes care of the forest that makes the forest what it is today? The traditional people and everyone that lives there. Okay, Pedro, I agree 100%. And I believe that this issue that's transversal. Lots of factors, lots of variables, so that can be really concluded. To get to this status, there are a lot of variables that should be faced. Well, let's go to the next question, which is actually it's for Tosana specifically. So Tosana, the question is the following: how can we build process with the indigenous youth that do not study their own, but you have to respect their knowledge and give back real benefits to their communities. Of course, the questions for Tosana, but feel free to answer anyone and participate here in this debate.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure if I completely understood it. Maybe something got lost in the interpretation. It's about research, or it's about...
It's about research and with indigenous people and local communities, how to assess them with our knowledge and make them part of the research and the academia.
Yes, this is a very critical question, and I sought to overcome the epistemological injustice and a power dynamic by directly collaborating with an organization working with indigenous people there in the field, and using decolonial participatory research methods, community-based research methods, such as Voto Voice, like La Voto Voz, is one of the methods I use, which directly centers the voice of the people, so they show what they want to tell, what they want to share about their lives, and then we co-interpreted the images that they took, and then also what you do with the results. So making sure that the findings connect to a local initiative, which can be very challenging because, well, a part of my findings is that the legal system has to be abolished, basically, which is, of course, like a very large action, but there are also always local actions that can be taken. So I think it's like a continuous conversation with the research participants, and even not seeing them as participants, but as like co-creators, and also that seeing them as the experts.
Being part of the research, like being a real part. So thank you for your answer. I think Annalise raised her hand. Please, Annalise, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
So I was going. Thank you, Tosana, for your vision, but I think that it's also a vision that someone who comes from abroad will have the situations well that we have people that are purely capable to conduct this investigation by themselves. So the public policy that make people from traditional people to be part of it. We have it in Brazil for a while, so I think we need to expand it in a way, and also with a financing for of these investigations researches. We know that it's a complex question, and also publication of the outcomes is complicated because in a way there's some favorite author that come from the global north. So I believe that we have to discuss this injustice within the academia and the scientific knowledge, because the traditional knowledge is there, and in a way it has to be brought within the academia directly, not only as a participant of a study, in my opinion. Thank you very much. I believe that Nohora, please feel free.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add to this. As an indigenous researcher and woman, I believe one of the greatest challenges in this space is the way in which the academia has taught us to do research. And this is given in the fact that we need to rethink on how we can publish from a more community collective point of view, because in the end, the information that we are generating needs to be thought in such a way that it can be used by the communities within their local actions. And this is a wide challenge when working from the academia specifically. So we need to think of how we bringing authors and co-authors to the memories of our grandparents. And this comes from rethinking things at research centers. And this, Annalise I believe it's a challenge for the academia, this understanding that grandparents possess knowledge and that we can bring them into a scientific article, into a journal. And this is the challenge that we have as scientists and researchers in the field. How we decolonize, deconstruct, and rethink ourselves from the research. And another point is language, the way in which we write. Many times we are asked to write in English because English is a way in which we can reach a wider scope. But you might know grandparents do not speak English. So who are we writing for? This is the task we have, and from the advisory committee, we are rethinking of how to make this more from a deconstruction of these topics point of view. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nohara.
Maria.
I believe that your insight, your opinion here is really relevant because you can bring it for us with property. So thank you. Let's get to the third question. We are a little bit late, but we're almost finishing it. It's a question to our partners, Ingrid, Tosana, and Annalise. And of course, the members of the committee, feel free to answer. What I think it's interesting from the presentation that you brought is that each of the presentations bring a possibility of education, of investment in education. So Tosana bring the school forest. If IFSA bring several opportunities of education, and for the youth education and monetization. How do you understand this investment? How education can impact youth people in this new idea of social bioeconomy? How this can impact the life of the young people, mainly the Amazon young people, not only them but also them. So the floor is yours. So I think that this question of giving money, it's a small attitude that institute want to embrace youth Amazon, but we understand that state, the governments, the city hall, they can make much more for this youth, and they have to take a look at it. Eco Jovem, we have this fight for the rights. That's our main fight, is the creation of a state secretariat, because lots of states in Brazil, they have their own secretariat and they can take a better look and at the main demands of the youth. But nowadays we don't have a youth secretariat here in Pará State. So we understand that in a way we don't have the look at the state. Last year that we got lots of investments here in Pará State. At the end, it was sent for the youth department only 20,000 reals, which is nothing. That's more than 1 million young people in the whole state. So it's nothing. So this year was around 35 or 50,000, but it is still really small investment. So that's why our fight for to assure the youth rights. And all this economy can bring opportunities to the Amazon young people for no matter if it's the third sector or jobs for them. On the third sector, we're talking even on compensation. We don't have our rights assured for the ones who work in the third sector. So this is still a fight in the future. And EcoJovem works with the issue for the capacitation formation. For us, it's a strategical year because it's an elections year here in Brazil. So we wanna work with education, talking on fundamental rights, culture, media education, and do engagement planning where we can incentivize weekly, but also some prizes to bring the Amazon youth nearer. So the last message I'd like to leave is that we are also seeking for investment for the institute itself. So if you wanna get in touch, so we can schedule a meeting and talking on investment, we're open to this kind of conversation. Okay, and that's it. Thank you. I thank you. Well, if no one else wants to share anything, so let's uh, finish it. And I thank you. It was a really rich debate. I'm really happy that we could put together so many different voices, different projects. I believe that it was a really good richness for the manifesto. So we have to understand how this manifesto impacts the youth. As Ingrid was saying, something nice, Ingrid. It was really interesting that you also have a manifesto, right? It's related with the Kojov Institute. Gabi, can you share the last slide? So I'll give them the last message. So thank you all for being here and are still here. Thank you for the question. Thank you for our partners for the presentations. And thank you, members of YAC that were here. And all the support for the secretariat. Here we have our social medias, Instagram, our website, our bulletin. Feel free to access it. We have a massive online course which is totally free, and we have our podcast. We're going to start our second season. Feel free to scan the QR code if you have any doubt or any need. Please get in touch with the SPA. Thank you all and see you next time.